Hey
everybody, welcome to the already frozen. Something's going on my computer today. All
You
right.
disappeared,
I know, I
literally.
just saw that. That was weird. I hope that I don't that doesn't happen during the recording. We'll see.
That's crazy, dude. Okay,
All
go try
right,
again.
here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Unconventional Therapist Guide to Nothing. My name is Dave. I'm joined here with my co-host Greg. Greg, what's going on?
Well, Dave, aside from, just to get a little meta here for a second, I'm sitting, what would you would call, I guess, across from someone, and they just disappear off the planet. And I guess that's what, we get with technology when you're trying to do this kind of stuff virtually,
I
right?
I just disappeared. I feel like as I'm watching myself, my words aren't matching my lip
Yeah.
movements. I think I'm having some technical difficulties over here. So hopefully it doesn't impact our ability to do
Hey,
this right
look, you're coming in loud and clear.
now. Okay.
So I want you to know that. Dave,
Thanks.
do you want to, little small talk, or you want to get into this thing?
Probably a question best off air. So I guess you
Use my best judgment?
yeah, go ahead.
All right, well, I guess I can combine the two in a sense. So, we talked about before, obviously there's an issue with poverty, even at a differing level where it's like poverty has crept into almost there's almost like the poverty class and then like rich people, sort of. I don't want to be that like hyperbolic, but there's that. So there's this class war thing going on. And then there's also homelessness, which we've talked about so many times, and how that's going to be addressed. You know, and how it's addressed is interesting because there's these benevolent proposals by politicians who say, vote for me, or we're making a budget and we're putting this amount of money aside for homeless people or for the people's what would you say, panhandling, right? And it's almost like it's this thing that we all sort of deceive ourselves, or like this is like a collective agreement, like dirty little secret that it's like we all feel better about the idea that it's proposed that we're going to address this thing, yet it's never actually addressed. Is that true? Is that fair to say? Like, isn't that kind of what happens every single year? We talk about how we're going to solve the homelessness problem, or we're going to solve the problem with poverty. And this is not a new thing. We're going to talk about how this is not a new thing at all. And what the man, what are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Well, I think that the thing that I've kind of learned over time has been a lot of these systems stay in place or don't actually get solved because if they got solved, it would no longer line certain people's pockets.
Yes.
So it is beneficial for the issues to exist for some groups of people. And that I think is a big issue.
It's a huge issue. And I think that we're going to talk about a modest proposal, which is a Jonathan Swift essay,
This is
who,
one that everybody's been asking for. Like, I cannot stop getting requests for this topic.
yeah,
When Greg
you know,
brought this to my attention, I was like, wow, it's like you read the audience's mind.
yeah, everyone's just clamoring for political satire essays. I mean,
Yes.
isn't that well, look, it's an interesting one because he does two things. It's going to do what satire does best and kind of like ironically or like over the top or exaggerate an issue to kind of bring light to it. But he's satirizing two things at once. First of all, the proposal itself, it's like let's make such a stupid proposal and we know it's never gonna happen. But like let it this we might as well just go completely crazy with the proposal and do it like that. And it's just I think it's brilliant in so many ways, and we'll talk about what the essay is about because I don't want to like bury that. I mean, I don't want to like give that away. Opposite of that. But this it's like a joke and it's also awful and it's also darkly true and it's also like there's like like baked in racism of his own in this thing. It's interesting. So why don't we just get into a little bit about who the hell Jonathan Swift
So why
is?
are we doing this episode?
Okay, that's a great question. We're doing this episode because I had an opportunity to check out the archives at Providence College, and we saw some really cool stuff. We saw some first edition Edgar Allan Poe stuff he touched. We saw some really, really early editions of Paradise Lost, like handwritten, which is for like amazing, right? And then I came across this essay that was illustrated, and the only like comparison I can make it to, and we'll post some pictures of this, is Alvin Schwartz. You remember the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yep.
There's the illustrations in that. It seems like Alvin Schwartz must have been, I know, borrowing from this.
So there you
It,
go.
yeah, there it is, right there, right? So Alvin Schwartz is definitely influenced by whoever was illustrating this version of Modest. It's not the first edition or anything like that. It's just one artist's like take on it, and it's just wickedly dark. And I saw this, I'm like, what is this about? And I'm gonna tell you a tiny bit of what it's about. It's about the Irish famine, and it's about his idea to, you know, eat babies, which I thought was crazy.
Okay.
Yes.
That was the longest freaking answer to the actual answer being for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Also, he was the dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Ireland.
It was a really easy answer.
Really?
What the hell just happened?
All
Wow.
right. Well, that's a
That was
real
a
one.
journey.
That was a journey, and I'm
And
sorry.
then it didn't even get there.
No, but
We
thank
got
you.
we got dropped off on the wrong port when he the wrong dock when you landed. Wow.
Hey, can I
Okay.
be can I be honest? I actually had a low grade fever this morning, so
Okay.
that's kind of where we're at.
Delirious.
Yeah,
All
slightly.
right. Well, this essay that we had to read, this proposal, was written by Jonathan Swift of the Swift family, Robinson. And no, I guess I'm going to do a little bio on Jonathan Swift because everybody's been
Yes,
asking like, who is this guy? And I'm like, hold on, settle down. Let me get to this because everyone wants to know who is
we
this
do.
Swift? Who is this Swifty? Right? Jay
This is the
Swift.
original Swifty.
This is. So he's born in Dublin in 1667. Unfortunately for him, his father died before he was born, which left his family with modest means. But he still had a very good education, and education was very important to him. And it sounded like that was something that he really focused on. It just felt like it was very important as a means to like better your chances to do the things you want to do. And like it sounds like in the 1600s, early 1700s, this was understood. You need
Yeah.
to have education to do certain things in life. He took orders in an Anglican church in 1694. And then, as you mentioned, he was named Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin in 1713. He worked for many years unsuccessfully to secure himself a more permanent appointment in England, which may have also caused some resentment over time.
Hmm.
Um, and during this period, he considered his life in Ireland a kind of exile.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Ireland was this negative place that you were forced to stay in until you could make it to the more successful land of England.
Yeah, and he's also born in Ireland, and he's English, and it's like you can see that in the essay how he's conflicted. He's feels for the Irish, but he also has contempt for the Irish at the same time. And nowadays the Irish love him. They like light bonfires on St. Patrick's Day or whenever his
Hmm,
birthday was. Yeah, they love the guy.
very cool. He does go back and forth between Ireland and England, which made him very interested in English politics. He also established himself in the literary circle that included many prominent writers. And later, he changed both his political and literal loyalties and befriended Alexander Pope, who would be a lifelong friend of his. Um, so specifically and particularly around the 1720s, he became engaged more in Irish politics. He reacted to the effects of English commercial and political injustices um, through a large body of pamphlets, essays, and satirical works. Wow, I
Mhm.
can't say that today, including perennially popular Gulliver's Travels, which was first published in 1726.
Yeah, Gulliver's Travels is awesome.
I didn't know that this was the guy.
This is the guy. I know, and it's like why aren't we doing Gulliver's Travels maybe?
Yep.
But Gulliver's Travels doesn't have the crazy artwork that we're gonna show, and I know it's an audio meme.
And
Like,
I know I was just gonna say that crazy artwork really
I know,
translates to
but
audio
I'm
podcast.
telling you what, there's something super interesting about this, and when we get into the essay, I'll talk about it.
All right. So a modest proposal was published in 1729 in response to worsening conditions in Ireland and is just this satirical work that is understood to be kind of like a great joke, right?
Yeah.
And it's critiques about it are kind of like ignored because it's understood to be like this joke of what is going on at this time, right?
Yeah, and it's like because it's over the top, but I think what's important to before we even get into it to understand, and I kind of like thought about you when thinking about this because like what satire is, and then like some examples that people can kind of grab onto to see what this median really is. Because I think it is important, and I think it happens more than we realize, and we even use it more than we realize. So it's like satire is when you use like try to be funny or ironic or exaggerate to expose things. Most like a lot of times it's political, a lot of times it's vices, and a lot of times it's just stupid people in power, right? And that old phrase, you can't fight stupid with stupid. I think that that's stupid because this is what you actually do, right? So like if you think of some examples of good satire, we'll start with movies. One you're definitely gonna like. That is, and I didn't even put it in here, damn it. But American Psycho. I mean, that literature, sure, that you can put it in that category too, but also movies. That's satire, right? It's almost like this is what corporate America is like and they go over the top with it to make these people like to make him like way psycho, but like it shines that light like well actually these people are kind of psycho, even the people that it's exposing that aren't literally
Yeah,
murdering people are psycho
sure.
too,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
like that's such a useful tool. South Park might maybe the best to ever do it.
yeah, yeah.
They're
It's pretty pretty in your face, pretty over the top.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
almost like you can't get mad at it because it's over the top, but it's also like shining lights on things that maybe it's like they can say it because it's so over the top. It's almost like you're way over the top, you can kind of get away with saying anything. I think there's something interesting
And if you
about
make
that.
it a cartoon, I think people
That's
digest
true
it
too.
differently, right?
I mean, that's got its history, even like yellow journalism, right? Like all the way like the revolutionary stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Fight Club, Colbert Report, Spinal Tap. Dave, I was gonna ask you if you saw this movie. This is something I've recently watched. The Menu.
I didn't watch it yet. I know what it is. I actually started it and I just didn't finish it.
Was it not clicking with you?
Mm, I don't remember. I don't remember why I didn't
It's
continue,
pretty
but
good. It's highlighting that whole like over the top culture of foodies where it's like there's three little things on the plate and it's like you're tasting all these things, but are you really tasting all these things?
yeah,
And this egg came from somewhere crazy. And then just to bring up some
I got a funny one.
yeah, what
It's
do you
along the lines of Spinal Tap. Have you ever heard of a movie called Fubar? You know what
know?
Fubar is, right? Like the
Yes, I do.
yeah,
The
but nothing
acronym.
to do with that. It's actually this Canadian uh like mockumentary about these two like hair metal like uh guys that just won't give up the dream, and it's just everything Canadian and hair metal, and just like but they like would be these guys that would live in their mom's basement, and they're like in their 30s or something like that, but it's a gem if you like those type of movies, so I recommend it for anybody who is likes those mockumentary type style
Yeah,
movies to check out Fubar.
like Best in Show, I guess would be a good
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
right?
yep. Best in
Eh,
Show is definitely there.
That's up there. So, and then in literature, Don Quixote is a wildly popular kind of critique on chivalry and how dumb that was. But although, like, maybe I think that got it wrong a little bit because now we're finding that maybe went the opposite direction. Catch 22 is a great book. Huck Finn is actually satire, and a lot of people don't. What the brilliance of it is, it's standalone, a great story, but they do use the N word quite a bit in Huck
Mm.
Finn. And it's pointing out the stupidity of slavery and s- Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, however you want to say it, was a huge advocate for the abolition of like slavery. He
Yeah.
was big into that. And then there's a new book that just came out that I just recently read, and it's called James, which is Huck Finn from the slave's point of view, which I think is really
Mm.
cool. It's doing really well. Anything Kurt
It's
Vonnegut,
so hot right now.
it's so hot right now. Hansel's so hot right now. Um, and then Dante's Inferno. I mean, these things are widely popular
Wait, would
books.
Zoolander be satire because it's like kind of poking fun at like the whole supermodel world?
I wish I had that accidentally came up, but absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like perfect satire, which is
Yeah.
cool. It's something that we all kind of like. And it is like exposing, isn't it?
Do you prefer more dry, less obvious satire, like we mentioned, like Best in Show, or even like The Office, I guess?
That's true too.
Or do you like more like over the top, funny, in your face satire, like we just mentioned with like Zoolander or like even like a South Park? What one
I
do you
think I
prefer?
I think I'm like I like the over the top.
Okay, and I'm more
Right.
of like the dry,
I
I
know.
guess, subtle. Yeah,
Yeah, we are. Hey,
the
opposites
British
attract.
Office is like perfection. I don't know, and just saying that makes me feel pretentious,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
No, and you know
love
what's
the British
funny?
Office. Yeah,
Now that I think about it, is like, is almost everything satire? And is that what does that say about our
is all
society?
is all comedy satire? Is that what you're saying, or is everything satire?
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. Like,
Well,
is
yeah, because you
everything
meant like you
satire?
did say like American Psycho. Pretty much anything Chuck Palahniuk is satire.
Yeah,
A
anything
lot
the
of
other guy you like too.
Bret Easton Ellis. I was just because actually when you were saying it, I was like, oh, I wonder. Rules of Attraction is sort of satire. Um,
What about that other thing? The average American male, the average American family, like whatever marriage or whatever it is. That author,
is that satire or is
it's got
that
to be
them trying to expose kind
over
of
the
like a
top.
truth?
Over the top, though.
I guess it is over the top, unless you're actually that
I
way.
know. Yeah, maybe when you're reading it as a 40-year-old, it's over the top. But if you're reading it when you're 19,
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
you know
That
what I
I
mean.
think that plays a big part of it too. Yeah.
So should I?
Like you hate Garden State because you watched it too late. And then I watched it like right at the right time and I was like, this is everything I'm feeling.
Oh, you're at. You know what? That's absolutely true, and I'm sure like a lot of our listeners have watched that movie. I guess you're right. It does depend on when you catch it, because it did not
Yeah.
hit me at all. But I wasn't like quarter life crisis time period. I was like midlife crisis, and I was like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where you're at with that.
Yeah.
Like this existential angst. You're like, what am I gonna do with my life? You're just like, I'm just trying to stay alive. That's what I'm gonna do
I'm
with my
trying to remember what the next film they did was, and that was that period. It's like it was like when they were older. It
Oh,
was
like
Zach Braff
wait,
again, and I'm trying to remember.
was it good?
I liked it.
I would give it another shot. You might like it just the same way someone stays in a cult because you're in too deep and you can't like not like it now.
Nah,
No? Now you're
nah.
big on you know your movies, that's for
Yeah, when it
sure.
comes to movies, I try to be more subjective. But like, yeah, let's get into this essay. So,
Okay, so the essay. This thing is published anonymously, first of all, because
so
he
just for to reminders, I mean, not that anyone could possibly forget, but we're talking about a modest proposal here.
yeah, everyone's favorite. So
Everybody's favorite political satire.
yeah. So it seems like it's anonymous because he's a priest. Well, he's a dean in a church. I don't know exactly what that makes him, but he wanted to be a bishop and he never got it. He thought he should have gotten a bishopry in England, but he got a deanery in Ireland, which is
Is
like,
that higher than cardinal?
well, a bishop is not higher than a cardinal, no, but a bishop is very like oh, well, so like depending, like some bishops I think rank as cardinals, like the Bishop of Canterbury is a big, huge deal. Bishops of like certain areas, Bishop of Rome, I think is the
Hmm.
Pope. So it's I don't know my Catholic dogma and like
I feel like we should know
rank
that.
structure so much, but I know that cardinals are, the cardinals are right under the Pope because
I
they pick
feel
the
like
Pope out of the
me
cardinals.
and all the listeners are super disappointed in you right now for not
Why is
knowing
that?
this, for not knowing this like by heart.
The Pope stuff, the Pope structure?
No, all the whole like rundown. I feel like
Yeah.
you're not
You're
as
right. I'm floundering.
it's okay. We'll forgive you.
Well, I appreciate it. So, for those reasons, wherever he ranked, he publishes anonymously at first, and he this thing presents itself as an actual proposal, It's good for the poor. It's like, hey, there's pe people that are starving, and if you want to learn more about this, you can look at our like Irish Famine episode. But people are starving in Ireland. It's really hard times. Like children are starving. People are being, there's they're criminals, they're beggars because they have no choice. Like when England is it's like an extraction economy thing where it's like they're taking all the goods and services out of Ireland, like they're taking all their products and using them in England and leaving Ireland with nothing because they're not making any money on it because it's the English landlords that are taking all their money. So it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they're just poor and they're starving and they're having kids one after the other because, Catholics, that's what you do. Birth control is kind of evil, right? So there's all these pores, and what this thing does, it makes this eloquent, beautiful case to fix the situation with the poor in Ireland. And he's got this terrific idea to improve things, and he's very excited about it in the essay. And he says that um, to abolish this issue with the poor in Ireland, all we have to do is start eating their children. And not only does that, like, and then he goes through all these different reasons, like, why that would be good. Because it handles the population issue. It solves the Irish people not having their own trade or their own work or their own positions because they become breeders. So it's like he goes through all these things and he thinks about all the products that you can make out of children, all the, the delicacies that could be sent over to England. And it's like it's satire because it's like this is the literally the only option that you've given these people is to eat their own children. I literally can't think this is it. This is the best idea that we have. And it's a proposal to government, which everyone knows would never be taken seriously, it'll just be washed around. But it's like he's trying to do that thing where it's like, okay, normally you just make a proposal and everyone feels better about it. But here's a proposal. Can you make us feel better about it? Like, you know what I mean? Having this proposal. It's crazy. I think it's brilliant.
It's something.
It's something, right? And the only thing, the other thing is, so he does these sermons and stuff like that. He works at a church, and he talks about how
What does he do there?
he sermons just
He
talk.
works there.
Yeah, he just works there. You know what I mean? And he talks to the Irish people about how the beggars are a problem and they're wife beaters. So in his mind, what's really dark about this essay is like in his mind there's some truth in it. Like he kind of feels this way about these people. But it's also like so over the top where it's like he doesn't really love the Irish and he doesn't really love the English. And he's just kind of in this grumpy position where he becomes the hero to the Irish because, that it's that old thing, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the fact that he's taking a position that feels like he's speaking out for the Irish and like the position that they're in probably makes them feel like, hey, well, this is better than nothing, even if he is reflecting some ideas that maybe kind of suck to hear. At least he's still willing to point out that like we're screwed. We're in a horrible, horrible position. And there's obviously, there's no getting out of this.
There's no
So
getting out of it.
he's actually like just putting it out there, right?
He's putting it out there as if,
I'm trying to think. There's like this is like what's like a modern day version of
dude,
this?
it's so funny that you say that. I've been racking my brain.
I'm gonna throw out like a crazy one.
Please.
And maybe this is off base, but like just go with me for a second. I almost feel like this is like an Eminem. Like like when he just says things the way that he sees them and like calls out society for like I feel like a young Eminem, like when he
Yeah.
first came out and he would throw out like he would just put like pop stars, celebrities, like the cultural things. He would just put everything on blast, right? And sure, there was
Yeah.
some problems with that. And also maybe he was even like kind of forgetting that he was also part of that community of celebrity, right?
Yeah,
Which I mean is
absolutely.
kind of happening here.
That's exactly right too. I think like if we were gonna try to make a modern one, because it's so everything's so politically correct, it'd be taking something like panhandlers and like saying like let's do something horrible with them because no one's been to this point. It's like something real that's out there that hasn't gone away, homeless, whatever it is, and saying like, hey, let's just like think of something dark, the darkest thing you can think of, and like write what we should do with them, whether it be like kill them or make something out of them or whatever, like it would be like that. And then coming up, but not only that, not only saying that like, you should do something horrible with them, but like writing all the reasons why that makes sense and that would be a good thing to do. It's almost like there's like an absurdity to it too, where it's
Yeah.
like nothing really even matters. It's like why even there's nowhere for these, there's no fixing this. You've gotten to the point where it's like they can't make anything because everything is owned by England. They're paying rent. So any money that any tiny bit of money that they make off their whatever they're doing goes right back to England and we're mad at them for not having money. It's like, what? You know?
This couldn't exist in today's society the way it is presented, because you couldn't do this in a way that wasn't obvious to the entire world that it was a
Mhm.
joke, because it would offend so many. Some people would get it, some people would misinterpret it, and many would be offended and not understand that this is a joke.
There would definitely be people that would say, like, this one politician is proposing that they eat babies and like take it completely seriously. And then like that would like people, yeah, it feels like, are we like dumb now?
It feels that we just are so suspect of everybody's intentions that we aren't allowed to just have a joke and have it just be a joke.
Oh,
Not
maybe it has to do with like there's no like something that we've talked about before that I love talking about with you. We've talked about it off air a million times, but like there's no like intrinsic good. There's nothing anymore that we've like agreed upon is like this is the morality or like the guidelines for society. We need to stay in line with these. And like
right.
him writing something completely outside of that, it's like everyone automatically knows, hey, that's outside of the guidelines of our morality. Like, what is this trying to say? Is this something where we're heading towards? It's almost like that movie Idiocracy. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I know what you're talking about. It's got like Luke Wilson in it, I think.
Yeah, and it's based on the premise, which is a true premise, that more intelligent people. It's just funny. You can see it right in this little chat. More intelligent people have less children than less intelligent people. So like, I have a bunch of kids, right? And there's literally like there's data that backs this up, where the most intelligent
All right. So
couples.
when we were first talking about this, I was gonna say a comment and I was afraid that it would get taken
But you
incorrectly or
can't
something like
be.
that.
You're falling into the traps.
Right. But I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't insensitive, because it could sound it. But I mean, it is definitely a thing where it feels or it seems as
Yeah.
though there are larger families, more children in lower income environments.
Hmm.
And then you look at higher income environments and you see like a single child, two
Uh-huh.
children,
Yeah.
a smaller family.
At boarding school.
Right. So, I mean, that's definitely a thing that you, I don't know. Maybe that is, I don't know if it's a stereotype, because I mean, it's not like I'm spending too much time
No, but that's what the
either.
numbers are. And the book, well, the book movie, whatever, focus on that premise where it's like, okay, so that say that's a fact. Let's push out, a few hundred years in the future. Is there like the only kind of the people that are selected for this going to be mostly like people, less intelligent people, quote unquote.
Sure.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, so that's the premise. And does that have holes in it? Yes. And are we being, like nothing's black or white, trust us, we're therapists. We know that. That's rule, that's day one stuff. But like it's interesting like to point that out and say, "Hey, like is that an issue with society? Is that something we should probably take a peek at?" And not get offended by it. Just say, "I'm offended because there's some truth in that." And I don't like this proposal. That's this whole point. It's like this is so over the top, but it's like can I think of something else that would work? Not
Right.
really. You
Well,
know?
I mean, it highlights something important. Like for you, what would be the thing that would offend somebody from this?
Well, there's the eating of the babies, which is intense, right?
But it's
And
not like a personal attack on, but what part of it feels personal, do you think?
I think it feels personal to the English. Just it makes the English seem cruel and inhumane and money driven and just products, stuff. Who
So the
cares about
reason
anything
why
else?
that would feel maybe offensive is because I think that is actually kind of what there is an element of truth to that statement in his opinion, and it's
Mm,
coming across in this very like absurd way. But he's saying like this obviously these um conditions that you're leaving people who live in poverty in is not does not feel very humane. So why would they be expected to act in humane ways, right? They have to,
yeah.
if the way they're being treated is not humane, they have to figure out an inhumane way to get out of it, I guess.
And it might even just be like a critique, almost like what was that book we read? China
Chinua
Achebe?
Achebe, yep, things fall apart.
Things fall apart, right? So it's like this kind of attack on imperialism and how, you can't just go to places and think that you're running it better. Like you've destroyed this country just to make your life what? Like I don't know, just to have more of their stuff. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And there's a reason why that fell apart. You can't, it just doesn't work. Like going all over the world and imposing your views on the rest of the world who's culturally so different from you. And maybe they're okay. Maybe
Yeah,
they don't need your point of view. Because when that happens, things fall apart. That's a great title.
it is a great title.
It
Very,
really is.
very good title.
I mean, very good book. So, and I
Yep.
appreciate you bringing that to my attention. So, it attacks that for sure. It attacks these benevolent improvers, which do not seem to go away. Doesn't this feel like not maybe not the content, but the message feels right at home today, doesn't it? Where it's like there's constantly people being like, the other thing he's sad making a satire about is the people who are like, I'm going to fix this with this. If I'm elected, I'm going to fix this with this, right? And that's a huge part of the satire too, where the proposal itself serves as a satire to the people who make proposals. It's a bunch of garbage too.
I was thinking about the other, like recently, I was thinking about, campaigning during election times. And it's over. I mean, and maybe it's always been this way. And I've just been more, yeah, as I've matured and grown up, I pay attention more to more recent elections. It almost feels like that thing that you think about when they'd have like school elections and people are like promising students are like promising things that they have no ability to actually do, like I'm
That's
going to make
exactly
sure
right.
there's soda at lunch or some
Yep.
ridiculous promise that they have no actual impact on.
Recess is going to be a half hour longer.
Yeah.
Something like
Like
that.
I feel like that so often campaigning starts to feel that way, right? And we're all relying on that to make our decision. So we're basically sifting through things that we maybe in reality know is not even achievable, never really going to happen. Um, and we're using those things to formulate our opinions. And I think he's kind of calling that out, like how silly that is. So maybe the answers are not to listen to these things. And he's kind of pointing that out by a proposal that's like the most ridiculous thing you could
Yep.
ever imagine.
It's it. That's the whole thing. Like, unfortunately, that is the point, I think. Um, just that.
Ireland was, it's so funny because like I have such like a vision of Ireland as like this beautiful green,
Mhm.
like historic, just beautiful place, right?
It is.
Is that how you envision Ireland?
I do. Yeah, like
Have you
I
been to
see the
Ireland?
cliffs and
Have you been?
no. No,
No?
no. I like it's on my yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
I mean,
But obviously, back in the day and
yeah.
various times in history, Ireland, the people who lived in Ireland did not feel it was a beautiful place.
No, no. It was like the land was well, but had they been left alone, it would have been fine. It's almost like the British. That's why I think there's still a lot of animosity, right, between the English and the Irish.
I
You know,
guess.
I
I don't
guess.
know.
I mean, here we are in America, and what's funny is like I just said, like here we are as Americans, but when this essay is proposed, it's like an American's proposal. That's so he's kind of like separating himself completely from it. This isn't a British. This is like someone from the outside looking in and saying, "Ah, I've got it. I've looked at what you've done here, and this is the only answer. This is I figured it out, and it's
Yeah,
like for whatever reason he made it an American that did that, as if to. And I think that's is that saying something about us too?
sure.
You know, I
Maybe,
mean,
maybe.
you know, who knows, right?
And for people who want to understand what we're actually talking about, um, you can read this text online, or there's actually a few audio podcasts that are just of the text.
Yeah,
So please feel free to dig into one of those to get a better sense of the content that we're talking. But it's very short. It's not
it's short. It's like 20 minutes.
yeah. So not something that's going to take you all day, and kind of would give you a little context more to what we're speaking about.
Also, it's kind of like an important piece of history. I can't really think of a lot of things that do the same thing that are just like short to the point and like I mentioned Dante, that does it. There's this stuff has its roots in like ancient Greece and stuff, There's
So is he celebrated in Ireland so heavily for this, or for Gulliver's Travels, or what?
well, for both. I mean, both kind of he represents the Irish people in both of those texts. But it's more for this because of I mean, it's almost like it brought the world's attention to it. It reminds me of like civil rights. Where there's like, what's the big piece of civil rights? There's a great Sam Cooke song, right? That brings attention to civil rights. There's, what happened, in the 60s, the early 60s with all like the violence and the sit-ins and all Martin Luther King, and we talked about the Black Panthers and everything like that. It's just that kind of thing where it's bringing attention to the world's attention to something through art that changes things. Obviously,
Yeah.
things change. This played a role in that, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Did this do anything? Do we know?
It didn't hurt,
That's good.
I mean, it was popular. It got people's interest, and I think that was the brilliance of it too, right? The subject matter is dark, but man, it grabs your attention. It's an essay about what people must have said, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that really grabs people's attention, and it's like, oh, okay, it's about this, but he's really just trying to say these people have no other
Oh,
voice.
you know where this would have ended up in
Where?
today's society? The or maybe this is even kind of like dating, because I don't know how accessible this is anymore. The Onion.
Oh yeah, I think it's like Babylon something now.
Oh, they changed it.
Yeah, well, The Onion was great.
This would have been in The Onion.
Yeah, I know.
The proposal
Dude,
to
absolutely.
address
Irish,
poverty.
the
Yeah,
Irish decide to eat babies to end poverty, and it would have been perfect, right? That's
it
satire, right?
would have totally fit The Onion.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great
It's-
point. That those headlines in the Onion just make me laugh.
yeah,
Great
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. They were good. They were good.
So, I mean, I wish there was more. Actually, I guess we could talk a little bit more about some of the great satire. Do you know that Princess Bride is satire?
Hmm.
I mean, just in terms of like British royalty and like it's not
Okay.
really,
Yeah, I never thought about it.
You know what I think is satire too, accidentally, is The Crown. Have you ever watched The Crown?
No.
Oh, dude, really? It's great. It's great, but I think it's accidentally satirical because it's like this is these people aren't even really doing anything. Like, why are they
Okay.
so rich?
Sure.
Like what
Yeah.
nothing really matters, Like there's nothing on the line or
You know
anything.
what's then in that realm? You know what else is satire?
What's that?
Paris Hilton.
It is satire.
I heard this is
Okay. I like it.
this is rumors.
Okay.
I
That's how
heard that's not
rumors
even
go.
her real personality. That the one that we got to know via was A Simple Life and all
Yeah.
whatever
It was
else that
actually
she
for whatever reason that grabbed me too. The Jersey
whatever
Shore
reason.
is the Jersey Shore satire. Is it like um
When people become exaggerated versions of the stereotypes they're pretending to be, yeah, wouldn't that be satire right there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you've become a satire. It should be like almost an insult. Like be careful not to become a satire is an important warning, I feel like.
Are we satire versions of
Therapists?
No, we're just. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever watched them to be like, oh, look at these two therapists.
They're being
So,
such therapists right now. They're like the to use our own, therapy words. They're like the archetype for therapists.
yeah, I don't think anyone's
Like,
ever said that.
no, I don't think so
I
either.
think they were both like, wait, where's the therapist? When did the therapist come
Which
on?
one's the therapist?
Yeah, which one is the therapist?
Because I'm nervous.
All I see is two unconventional guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That doesn't have the same, you know,
two
spec.
unconventional guys. That's our
Yeah, two
that's our other
unconventional guys
show.
just talking.
Talk about nothing.
Take
Yeah.
some of the pressure off, I
I
think.
think our April Fool's joke should have been we released an episode as the two unconventional guys talk about nothing. That would have been an
And
amazing thing.
well, it's not April yet, so
Yes, maybe that will happen.
we can still do that. And I think just get on here, no notes, just riff,
Just
see what happens.
eat some babies,
That's it,
Just
man.
get
I
on
mean,
here
that's
and eat
kind
some
of what has
babies.
to happen at this point because I think that's all we got on the babies.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, like, but Orwell, right? 1984, Animal Farm. Those are both
Hmm.
important, great satires.
Yep.
So
Yep.
again, like, I think that
Lord of the
idea of
Flies.
Lord of the Flies is great, great satire. You know what's Lord of the Flies right now with the girls is
Yellow Jackets.
yeah,
Yeah. I just watched season one. Well, not just. I'm. It's awesome. It's a great show.
it's awesome. Yeah, I'm into it too. I'm actually on like episode like 7 or something in
Of
season.
season one because you got
Yeah,
Netflix and they only have season one on there. So
yeah,
we're gonna have to find a way to watch season two and three.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
with you.
yeah. So you finished season 1?
Yeah, it's
Was
good.
it satisfying? A satisfying finish?
Yeah, but you immediately want more. So it's like no, so then it's not satisfying, I guess. It leaves you wanting more. But
Okay.
that's a good thing, I think, for a show.
Yeah, dude, great people in that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great, great actors. Um, is that why Lord of the Flies came up? Is
No.
that it makes
No,
you
you
think of Lord
said
of the Flies?
Animal Farm, and then I thought of Lord of the Flies for some
Oh,
reason.
okay. Because there must be flies on the farm. Maybe
I think
they're
I just associate it with like books that you have to read in high school
okay.
and
Okay.
random thought, I guess.
Yeah, it's
Just two dudes riffing, two unconventional dudes riffing.
I know. Somehow we talk about homelessness again. I think that comes up quite a bit too. But yeah, Dave. So that's kind of all we got for this essay. And you know what? Now that it's a 20-minute essay, and I thought that kind of had the bones to give us an entire episode. It almost did. But um, it's St. Patrick's Day. Like, what is? Give us again the tradition just for those new listeners that don't know. Like, what are your
Okay.
plans?
Well, I disappointed because last year I didn't do part of my tradition.
Okay.
So my tradition is, even though I'm not Irish, I like to indulge in everything Irish on St. Patrick's Day and actually leading up to St. Patrick's Day too. But on St. Patrick's Day, I like to do the traditional Irish breakfast and I cook a corned beef, which I will have for lunch and dinner and maybe have some leftovers
Yeah. Your
following.
sodium is going to be up there that day.
Dude, I love salt.
Me
So
too.
that is my downfall. So my sodium's always up there probably, but yeah, it's going to be really bad on that day. But the traditional Irish breakfast is fun. It's like beans, you like grill an egg or something. I mean, not an egg, a tomato.
Yeah.
Um, what else is
No
there?
babies, right?
No babies, eggs, some Irish bacon. Um, I usually have some Irish soda bread with it. Just
Oh wow.
everything,
Do
everything.
you do all that?
Yeah, I buy some Irish cheese,
Okay.
different kinds of cheeses from Ireland that carry. There's Kerrygold. There's like some Irish port beer cheese. I just anything, and then I always find like some Irish beers or whatever,
And you have
and
a good old
just
time.
have a good old time.
And it's a
It's gonna
day.
Monday this year, so it's like I'm not gonna have that good of a time. I'm gonna have to have a good time, but as we mentioned in previous episodes, like I do that PVD horror thing in Rhode Island, and we do monthly movie nights. And that same week, on the Friday of that week, I'll be showing Leprechaun in Space
Okay.
to our horror community audience, and that'll be a
Yeah.
good time. So that'll be extending the St. Patrick's Day
That
vibe.
has to be pretty low on, critics' choice as far as the Leprechaun movies go.
Well, I mean, it's no Leprechaun 2 or 3, but
No, so
it's a
is that
lot of
basically
fun.
how it works? Like Leprechaun 1's the best, two's the second best, three's the third best. Is that
I'm one of those people that like there's so many franchises where either the second or third is actually one of my favorite installments usually. But we did Leprechaun in the Hood last year, and people love Leprechaun in the Hood. I
Really?
actually love Leprechaun Back to the Hood more than I love Leprechaun in the
Oh
Hood,
my goodness.
just to give people a little context to.
I didn't know there was so many.
There's a ton of Leprechaun movies, and then they did some reboots and all that. But I will say this: Leprechaun movies obviously ridiculous. There is some great Irish horror coming out in more recent times. The movie The Oddity came out last year, got a lot of buzz. Good movie, but there's a ton of them that I actually really enjoy and I try to watch. A Hole in the
Was there
Ground is another
any
one.
like changeling stuff? Did that ever
Yeah, a
pop
lot
up?
of them are like changeling. A Hole in the Ground. I just said that, but that's actually like a changeling type thing where the kid puts his head in the ground and then comes out as like a different version of himself. He's like an evil version. I actually think that's a common theme in a lot of Irish horror. Now that I think about it, there's another changeling type horror movie from The Hollows, I think is what it is one of my favorite Irish horror movies. So I suggest people watch that, but it's got changelings, it's got like wood nymphs and things like that. It's a
Sure.
great movie.
Yeah.
I really
I know.
enjoyed
I
it.
like all that stuff too. The fairy folk. There's got a lot of cool
I
like.
love I definitely love folk horror stuff and like
Hmm.
yeah. I
There's that
wanted to
the
bring up one of
ritual. I watched
oh
that on
yeah, The
Netflix not too.
Ritual's great. That's on you always bring up Netflix stuff. We all
I
know
do.
you. What are
Yeah.
you, proud
Everyone
sponsor of
knows.
Netflix over here,
Yeah,
guy?
that's right. Yeah, I know. I should. Hey, look, Netflix, if you're listening.
Yeah, The
It's
Ritual's on Netflix, and that's a really good one.
a great
That
one.
yeah. I wanted to mention something that happened the other day, which was cool, but tie into our episode on the Black Panthers.
Oh, cool.
So I sent you a picture because I did an interview for the PVD Horror podcast with Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hmm.
That was a cool experience. And the reason why I had her on there is because she got her start in acting in a horror movie, which is kind of like this low budget cult classic. But she's an author now, and she's like a youth author. So she writes books about like kind of African American experiences in different situations. And she had this one newer book that came out, and it's about this young girl growing up in the 70s, and like she has a family member who's kind of drawn to the Black Panthers. And as she's talking about the book, though, she goes, "It's really important for me to kind of explain this about the Black Panthers because I," and then she brings up the breakfast program and all the public community things that
Yeah,
they do. And I was like, that's so funny. So I was able to have that conversation with
yeah.
her about the Black Panthers and kind of share the knowledge that we had gained
It's
from
nice when
doing our
someone
deep
mentions something, you're
dive.
like, "Oh my God, I just did a podcast about this," and
Oh,
you hit them with something, and they're like, "What the hell? Are you
it,
like you tuned in? You
yes,
dialed into this?" And like,
it's so
now I am.
funny. That was like perfect timing, and I did not expect to have that conversation. But then we were sitting there talking about like that breakfast program they do,
Yeah,
and just having someone like understand what I was talking about and like also have a passion for it. It was really cool. And that also happened uh a while ago. It was like it's happened a few times where I'm like talking to someone and that had that experience. But like there was a random one. This guy did a movie called Nocebo, and in the movie he had some woman from Cambodia, and he brought up sons, and then we started
oh,
talking
really.
about sudden nocturnal death syndrome,
Yeah,
and we just had this like long conversation about, I feel like it hit like three topics from random episodes that we had done, and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is so weird.
You're
But
like,
it's
this guy must think I'm a genius.
I get that sometimes I think
Yeah,
that I'm like, man, they must think I know so much.
yeah, yeah.
But they're probably
They don't
like,
know that
this
we're gonna
guy's
forget it in two
weird.
weeks
Yeah,
by
they're
accident.
probably like, this guy's weird as hell. Why does he
Yeah,
know this?
yeah. That's a good question. Why do we
I
know?
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that it's I love that. I love those moments when that happens. I like it when it happens like in therapy. Usually it happens if we've just done like a theoretical approach or something like that. I'm
And,
like,
and the
let's
big
try this.
the big thing is like, for some things are definitely coincidental. Other things are like, is it though because we're looking for it, or we're trying to force it in there? We're trying to look
Yeah,
for reasons to talk about it, or is it
yeah,
just, I don't know.
yeah. And like if you find yourself in th therapy saying, this reminds me of a political satire, a modest proposal. If you're shoehorning that in, then you're doing something.
Wait, are you referencing that Jay Swift
Yeah.
proposal? I
Oh,
think
yeah, I'm a Swiftie. A Jonathan Swiftie or
wow, that is so weird.
uh
Oh.
for all
So,
those J Swifties out there.
Greg, let me ask you, do you have any St. Patrick's Day traditions that you will be?
Well, my
So,
son was born on St. Patrick's Day, which
okay.
I tell you every year.
Yep.
But well, one of them anyway. So yeah, we make kind of a big deal out of St. Patrick's Day. It's awesome. And ever since Boondock Saints, that person said everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
I've really kind of gotten behind that.
Hell yeah.
It's like,
Why
hell
not?
yeah, we are. Let's do it. Let's have
Yep.
it. And now it's just one more thing to celebrate, right? And one more figurehead. We got St. Patrick, we got the leprechauns, we've got the famine we talked about. We almost had Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe that'll be next year because
Probably
that's
should
gonna
have
be a
had
great ride.
Gulliver's Travels, but instead we got a modest proposal. But
We should have probably went with Gulliver's Travels. We would have had more to pick from.
I've never
Uh,
read that, so that would have gave me a reason to read it too. So I probably
yeah,
should have.
it's probably like it's old, so it's probably a tough read, but
Hmm.
it's been around for a while. It's got longevity, right? It's got legs, so there must be something to it.
All right.
All right, well,
All right. Well, everybody, we hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day when you listen to this. 2 days later is St. Joseph's Day, so hopefully you're eating some Zapalas and having a great time.
yeah,
And
man.
then there's March Madness going on. So it's ultimately one of the greatest times of the year.
Also, like it's staying lighter longer, so the
Yeah,
serotonin and the vitamin D and
100%.
you're doing a
It's
little bit
I
better.
feel like there's an excitement that happens in March, right?
Yeah, dude. It's madness.
That it is madness. It is
They
March
should call it
Madness.
February or January Madness because that's when the shit really hits the fan. Like right
Yeah,
after Christmas, it's like everyone takes a dive.
it's a
But
dive.
here we are. We're pulling our way out of winter, and that's a great feeling.
Yep. So thanks for pulling with us, kissing our Blarney Stones, and just
Yeah.
having a good time.
Our what are those clubs that the Leprechaun
Shillelaghs,
Shillelaghs? Yep, Shamrocks, Shenanigans,
Shamrock
Shillelaghs.
Chicks. Yep.
Yeah, and Bangers and Mash.
Oh yeah, that's my other favorite.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good
but
one
that's
too.
English actually.
Oh, is it?
I believe it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I could be wrong. Someone can correct
Well,
me.
you could be. You could be
See,
right though too. So who
I
knows?
think I am. I'm usually
All
right.
right, fine.
Anyways,
Corned beef hash.
yes.
All right, cool. All right, so yeah,
Okay. All right, everybody. Rate, review, subscribe, ring bells,
please.
all that good stuff. Whatever helps you watch and pay attention and be alerted. All those good things. But we do really love when we get the feedback. So people commenting on episodes, writing reviews. That's been so awesome and humbling, and we just appreciate you. But it also goes a long way to help get us, you know, accessible. I say this every week, but that's the only way we can grow is with that interaction and that communication. So that's the biggest way you can help support. But if you want to support another way, I did actually add our Patreon link to our Instagram bio. So if you are interested in getting some bonus episodes, we only got one out now, but we will continue to add to that as soon as we get some time to do so, which will be
Yeah,
soon. We will have more bonus episodes for people who are subscribers. And you can also subscribe on Apple Podcasts as well. And that would give you access to those bonus episodes too. So, yeah, we'll see you next week. Everyone, have a safe and happy St. Patrick's Day. And we'll be back to some crazy other episodes next week.
next week.
That's all I got. All right. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.